Welcome to the ThunderCast, your Marshall Athletics podcast produced by the fans, for the fans, with your hosts, Russ Livingood and KD Hudnall. We're bringing you the thundering word on the thundering herd each and every week, so keep it right here. The ThunderCast is on the loose. Thanks for downloading another episode of the ThunderCast. Russ, I'm not even going through the links to our social medias. That's all in the descriptions because it's freaking game week, baby. Football season is here. We've got a damn preview that we're going to talk about. Game coming up against Albany. We've got a great 5 things and some really awesome around the herd stuff too, because athletics is in full swing now. Soccer teams are kicking ass. I mean, there's just no need to prolong an intro. Let's just get into it. So let's get a quick word from our sponsors at 304carwreck.com. If you've been hurt in a wreck, visit 304carwreck.com on the web or on Facebook. Matt and Jason are experienced injury lawyers in Huntington who have helped many people, just like you, with claims throughout West Virginia, Ohio, and Kentucky. Car wrecks, truck wrecks, and injury claims aren't just something they do, it's what they do. Find them at 304carwreck.com. Russ, give me let's kick this freaking season preview or game 1 preview episode off the right way and give me, I don't know how many things, but at least 5 things every Herd fan needs to know this week.
How about a bonus thing? 5 plus 1. We've got 6 things every Herd fan needs to know this week. As always, brought to you by IgniteLink, the Tri-State's premier IT management team. All really good, but let's start with this. Steven Dix Jr. and Rasheen Ali are both on the watch list for Comeback Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Also, Ethan Driscoll named to the Senior Bowl watch list. So let's talk about those.
Let me start at the beginning. I don't think anybody is surprised by Rasheen Ali, right? Because he had a killer year in 21.
Mm-hmm.
And it really had, when he did start playing in 22, he led the team in rushing the final 3 games. So he's poised to have that year. I think the wild card for Herd fans is Steven Dix Jr. because we just don't know much about the guy. He was on Florida State's roster the past couple years, and he's a freaking specimen, first off.
Yes.
I mean, he's a freaking specimen. So if he comes in and has a comeback player of the year type season, holy moly, it could take this Marshall defense and that linebacking core to a completely different level because the guy is special. He had really great stats at Florida State. So to land 2 guys on these type of award list or watch list, it tells you that there are people out there that expect big things from these 2 guys. And I'm just going to toss out real quick about Ethan Driscoll. I think it's really freaking awesome that he landed on the Senior Bowl watch list. That's a big deal. Folks don't really, I think, fully understand because those teams are coached by NFL coaching staffs, and it's a showcase game. So you get an opportunity to say, hey, I can play with guys that are going to be in the NFL. Yeah. Some guys are going to be high draft picks. Some guys are going to be mid-round or late round, and there's going to be some undrafted free agents that are going to stick. I think the surprising thing to me is that we don't see Owen Porter on that list right now, and we don't see Micah Abraham on that list right now. Could they be added midseason? Absolutely. Yeah. But a guy that's on the short list for Defensive Player of the Year in the Sun Belt, surprising that we didn't see him there. But all 3 great freaking accolades to start out this 5 things.
Yeah, I just want to say about Steven Dix Jr. a couple of things. One, I feel like he's flying below the radar.
Very much.
Just not enough people talking about him. We've talked about him. I don't think nationally or even people that are covering the Sun Belt, there's just not enough recognition for what we believe he's capable of doing. And I think this coaching staff knows what he's capable of doing. Yeah. And number 2, it finishes that pipeline or continues that pipeline that we've been talking about. We had an entire feature on that last year about this pipeline coming from Florida State to Marshall. Famously, I don't think it's going to get any better than Randy Moss, but we did pretty daggone good last year. And I think that he's primed for a breakout year.
Yeah, and it's not just him, right? It's Lloyd Willis as well.
Sure.
Bolster that offensive line. And we still haven't seen a 2 deep yet. Maybe that'll get released, the week 1 2 deep. But it hasn't been released yet. There's speculation of who may be that 5th offensive lineman starting. Will it be him? Will it be Altrique Barlow coming over from TCU? it's going to be one of those things that we'll obviously find out when the depth chart comes. But either way, both of those additions on the offensive line are massively big and provide whoever's not starting is going to provide instant depth right there. And Stephen Dix Jr. He's performed really well at Florida State, and I think there's no reason to think that he's not going to have that bounce back year. This is just a great way to start it off.
Yeah, and props to Ethan Driscoll as well. We talked about or I did specifically, and I always own everything that I say on here. He has gotten accolade after accolade after accolade this preseason. I think he is primed. I picked him, I think, for breakout player of the year on offensive line when we were doing that position group. But I said I hope that he can get some of these penalties under wraps of the holding here and there, and but that has nothing to do with his athletic ability and everything. Sometimes it's just a little thing that boom, you snap and you make a change and decide, hey, I'm no longer going to grab a jersey or whatever. But I also feel like they kind of pick on him because of the size that he's at.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, well, let's watch him really close and they'll get him for holding.
It really feels like when guys used to drive the lane on Shaq and they would just go, flailing off into the sideline. But it's like he's just that big. He's not doing anything. But yeah, I'm going to own it a little bit too. I've picked on Ethan, but I think with the further development of Cam Fancher and his comfortability in the offense and that mobility that he brings, it's going to help guys like Ethan and whoever's on the other edge of the offensive line. It's going to make their job a little bit easier. So,
and probably picked on is not the right word. We have just stated the facts of there's been too many. These guys are harder on themselves than we ever will be. So I know if they get a holding penalty and it stalls a drive or knocks them back 5 yards, they're beating themselves up worse than our words ever will to just say, we hope that he has less holding penalties this year.
Plus, I love getting proved wrong. I love that.
Absolutely, yeah. All right, number 2, Alexis Wolgemuth named SBC Women's Soccer Defensive Player of the Week.
Yeah, pretty cool, right? Women's soccer, we believe, is going to be much improved this year. They're off and running. We talked about it last week. Actually, both of our soccer programs are off and running.
Real quick, before I check, just off the top of my head, has either team allowed a goal yet?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
We'll get to it in Around the Herd and I'll get proven wrong and I'll say that's the only mistake I've ever made. But anyway, she has been a freaking wall so far this year. And everyone that has gone to the games has commented on social media or message boards or whatever as well. It's not just our observations. The stats back it up. The eye test for everybody that's going to the games backs it up. So looking like that's going to help a lot. A great goalie can take you a long way in soccer. Number 3, Essence Clerkley wins the volleyball preseason hard hat award. I love these types of awards. These internal awards that are given out by the coaching staff and or the peers that decide on who wins it. So that's always a good sign too when somebody's getting a hard hat award for their hard work.
Well, it's very indicative of we say this all the time. It's very indicative of the overall just nature of Huntington and Marshall as a fan base, as a town, a city of Huntington. It's just a hardworking type place, and those hard hat awards mean something. You're recognized for what you're doing, and it's not just about stats. It's the effort that you're putting in. Those are great things, like hustle plays, and I know that goes a long way with a lot of people. And we talked about all the time last year, particularly when we were talking about softball. And, though she's not on the roster anymore, Autumn Owen always running to where she was going. On the field, off the field, it was never a walk or a jog. It was always a run, even if it was chasing a foul ball. Those kind of things do not go unrecognized, and they go really appreciated to some fans that really, can appreciate that type of effort. So Essence getting this is really, really cool for her. It's a cool award that the coaching staff recognizes what you're doing. You're being a leader on your team in a different way. You also might put up gaudy stats, but it's that hustle. It's that setting the tone type thing that I think is just really special.
The next one that we have here is the We Are Thankful games that was announced for thing number 4 here. Each sport is going to have a "We Are Thankful" promotion tied to it, and men's soccer is already gone. I'm going to go ahead and say what that was, though. On Thursday, August 24th game against Oakland, ticket was free admission. Attire is wear green. If you want to purchase the "We Are Thankful" gear that they have in the Marshall bookstore. Um, Next up is volleyball on August the 31st at 6 p.m. Morehead State, and that is on Thursday. Tickets free admission, attire wear green, or purchase the "We Are Thankful" gear at Marshall Bookstore. Women's soccer, theirs is Thursday, September the 7th at 6 p.m. Miami, Ohio. Ticket free admission, attire same, wear green, or purchase the "We Are Thankful." Football, Saturday, November the 25th, the end of the season home game against Arkansas State. Ticket is a discounted ticket. There's more information coming soon. They don't have that out yet. The same on the attire, that you're wearing green for that game, or the "We Are Thankful" gear that's available. And further info on that, they're going to have the Marlana Van Hoos singing "God Bless America," doing a military flyover and a large flag display on the field. So who does this go to? It's an initiative where we honor and celebrate our military, first responders, and local heroes. So if you are in that camp, you have free or discounted promotion tickets coming up for these sporting events. Men's soccer is already gone. Sadly, we shooting schedule, we just didn't get to talk about it when it was announced.
It's just cool. I mean,
Yeah,
and also don't forget that that's going to be senior day for the football team.
that's right. Yeah.
So you're going to be honoring several all-time great, like all-time greats. And that's just a game that, if Marshall's in a position, even if they're not in a position to be making some really special type noise, we should be there. Everybody should be there because, it's your last opportunity to see guys like Mike Abraham, Owen Porter, on the field at Joan C. Edwards Stadium. And for all that they've given to us over the years, showing up for them one time in particular when they're being honored for their careers and contributions to herd football, weather be damned, right? If I could be
Right.
there, I would be there, But I'm always just lucky to get back once, maybe twice, and but I know folks that live locally, hour and a half ish away, they'll turn out because they're going
Yeah.
to want to see that local legend in Owen Porter, you know, be honored and all the other guys too. There's going to be a myriad of seniors that are making their final start for the herd at Joan C. Edwards Stadium. But these We Are Thankful games are just another great promotion to show a little
Mhm.
appreciation to this community and get more folks to games, right?
Now, one thing that they are asking is that if you're going to go to these, that you RSVP so they can go ahead and allocate, so they can estimate how many people are going to be there, that they need to reserve those tickets for and everything. So
Cool.
we're going to talk about something here in a minute of don't procrastinate. And this is one of those things. If you want to get a free ticket or if you want to get the discounted tickets, go ahead and contact them, tell them you plan to be at that game, and they'll go ahead and set it aside for you.
Yeah, this is an opportunity to get ahead of this and not turn it into something. It's like, well, they said it was free and then they didn't have any tickets left. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, you asked on Thursday, the
Yeah.
game's on Saturday. Like, go ahead and ask now. Go ahead and call now, and reserve it 2 months ahead of time. If you can't go, it's really no big deal, but you want to make sure if you can, you have a seat allocated.
The fifth thing, this is all about soccer, and there's a lot of news in here. A lot of this came out right after we had recorded our last show,
Mm-hmm.
so some of this you may have heard days ago, but here we go. Matthew Bell named Soccer Offensive Player of the Week in the Sun Belt. That just came out. No surprise there with his efforts. He scored 4 goals on the week. A lot of people don't get that throughout the season. Um, had the hat trick in the first game, um, several opportunities in the second game, and he took one in. So named on there. I've got some more stuff, and then I'll let you go back and comment on all of it. Matthew Bell also named to College Soccer News' preseason All America second team. Matthew Bell named to the Mac Herman Trophy watch list. We talked about the Mac Herman Award last year. Let's Let's see. Men's soccer also landed three on the top drawer soccer top 100 upperclassmen. That's Matthew Bell coming in at number 56, Alvaro Garcia Pascual at 61, and Alex Sterngard at 64.
It's hard for me to fathom there are 50 collegiate soccer players better than Matthew Bell right now, but whatever. The dude's a machine, man. I mean, he's a freaking machine, scoring machine in particular. 4 goals this week. I mean, how do you? Hurd's had 2 games, 2 hat tricks in both games, or a hat trick in both games. Marco Silva had one yesterday. Dude, these guys are like, this is worse than video game numbers.
Well,
I mean,
and in the offseason they switched positions to for Matthew Bell and put him in what is probably a more natural position for him. And you expected his goals to just go up.
yeah.
He was kind of, I don't want to say a role player. He was a very pivotal player in our system last year, but his talents are probably better utilized where he's at right now. And I think through 2 games, it's showing.
It's showing. Yeah, it's like he can play a little bit more free. He's got the freedom to do more things. But man, it's just it's unfathomable. I mean, what do they put 9 goals up in 2 games all of a sudden? And I don't think they've allowed
They
one
definitely
yet
have
this
not.
season.
They
I
have
mean,
not
gee,
allowed one.
Christmas. It's embarrassing because 1-0 is your pretty standard game. If you get to 2-0, you're like, wow, that was pretty convincing. 3-0 is like, whoa, they really dominated this game. 4-0 and 5-0 in back-to-back games, man, that's just flat out dominance. It is dominance.
Yeah,
And I
look,
saw that Marshall has moved up the polls a little bit from where they were. I think they were 11th,
they're
and now
11th.
they're up to
Yeah,
like 9th or 6th or something
yeah,
like that. And I even saw a thing yesterday. I wish I'd have saved it, who it was from, but it was like the a power ranking, and Marshall was number 5 in that power ranking. So a lot of love for the Herd early on in this season. I think they were a little underestimated. Of course, it's a long season, and we've still got Kentucky on the schedule. We've still got to run the Sun Belt Gauntlet, but right now, geez, it's hard to figure that there are too many teams in this country that are better than Marshall right now.
yeah. And we are going to talk about this a lot more in depth when we go around the Herd. But those accolades about, I mean, everything that they got is deserved. But you think about in the top 100, we have three. That's impressive. But those three fall within 56 to 64.
Yeah,
We've got three of the top 64, and they're all bunched together. We're talking about how great Matthew Bell is, and the other two are just right there with him.
yeah.
So those three all in the middle of the pack. I want to go down that top 100 and see, one, how many teams have three, and two, how many have them that high, and then how many have somebody that's like top 5, and then they have some other in the 80s and 90s.
Hmm.
Because I would say this is probably pretty unique to have a 56 through 64 right there bunched together.
Hmm.
All right, our sixth and final thing, the Virginia Tech game has sold out. There is a lot of hoopla over that, and rightfully so. But then there's also some people that are, I don't want to say complaining, they're just a little frustrated maybe because some of the tickets were sold to SeatGeek because we have a tie-in, a connection, a contract or something with them to buy up unused seats. But let's talk about that a little bit
Okay.
because I recall us, Ryan Crisp, the ticket office, putting stuff out on social media and here on the ThunderCast on video or on audio talking about this game may sell out. You need to purchase your tickets because once the Virginia Tech fans can get them, they could be gone. So
Hmm.
we might not have even gotten to this point right now. They might have sold out before based on what everyone was telling you. We heard from the ticket office, better get them early. We got ours early. I got mine the day of,
Hmm.
not the additional tickets that I needed to get. I got 11 additional tickets for that game.
Hmm. Yeah, you can't procrastinate. I mean, folks knew months ahead of time. We knew that
Mhm.
we might not have known the actual dates, like, okay, season tickets are going to be, go on sale here. And if you're not a
Right.
season ticket guy, okay, we did mini plans. Okay, we did
Sure.
single games for Big Green members. Then we did
Mhm.
single games for everybody. And you had
Yeah,
so much time to do this. And yeah, I understand, right? It's like, well, I wasn't sure that I could go to the game. But
absolutely.
but at some point before the last couple of days, you knew if you were going to be able to go, or you knew it was a really good chance you could go.
Or you could
So
buy the ticket, and if you couldn't go, you know that you'll probably be able to sell it,
for
especially if it's
sure,
a sellout.
for sure. And I'm not trying to get on the high horse, right? I'm
Me
really not.
either. Me either.
But it's like you can't gripe and moan when you had months to take care of it.
Yeah.
And now, Marshall's trying to do what they need to do to secure all of that revenue. It's like we gave y'all all kinds of chances to get your plans in order. And now we have this opportunity or like a contractual tie to
Right.
sell the remainder of our seats to make them available. And they're not going to pass on all that revenue, you
Yeah.
know? So you can still buy them. You're just going to have to buy them through SeatGeek now, or maybe some fans are going to be selling them. But we
Mhm.
preached and preached and preached and begged and pleaded, please buy them through herdzone.com. Please
Yeah.
call 800 the herd. Please walk into the ticket office and
Yeah.
buy them. We wanted all that revenue to go directly to Marshall with no middleman, and now there's a middleman involved. And
And we
now,
wanted you to save you money too,
yeah,
because
save you money.
it is always cheapest to buy through herdzone.com, 1-800 the herd.
Yep.
We talked about, and Ryan Crisp, when he was on the show, talked about it. The best way to get these, he said, guys, here's first is get season tickets. And we talked about the family plan. You could have gone to Virginia Tech for an average of $16.50 if you got the family pack. And that is $99 per seat for 4 seats. $396. You find 3 other people to split that with you, or your family alone. But a lot of that, you look at $396 over, that's 24 tickets in those 6 games. You would have been able to go to Virginia Tech. Let's say right now on SeatGeek, you're like, well, it's $100. I'm just throwing that out as a round number. That is a fourth for 1 seat of what you would pay for this entire package for 24 tickets all year long. So it was kind of beaten into everybody's head. Hey, you should try to do this. Then it was the mini plans. It's like, hey, we're allowing you to get Virginia Tech in the mini plan, and we're not telling you it has to be these other 2 teams that you have to select. They
Mm-hmm.
gave you the opportunity to select 2 other teams.
Now, look, I'm on SeatGeek right now. I'm
Uh huh.
looking, and there are 185 listings for tickets. So I don't know if that just means there's 185 tickets or if it's like pairs of tickets, or I
Right.
mean, it could be a listing for four. I don't know.
Sure.
But the cheapest ticket available right now is 2 tickets in section 103, and they're $43 each plus fees.
Right.
And you're going to do that for two. That you could have bought half of a family plan, or not half, but like one whole family plan for buying those 2 tickets, or one ticket of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
One of the 4 tickets you need in the
Yes.
family plan if you
Yeah.
buy those tickets. So if you think about it, if you're going getting 8 tickets, could have got a family plan with that or whatever. But it's always going to be cheaper to buy for the herd. So, when we're telling again, we're not preaching, but we're trying to save you money and get
Yeah.
you to pull the trigger on this stuff quicker, because everybody wants to go see the herd, and everybody wants to go see the herd as cheaply as they can. Nothing wrong with that. So do I.
Yeah.
And
Part
I don't,
part of our you go
I,
ahead. You
I
go
was going to
ahead.
say, I don't want to pay fees to SeatGeek. I want to pay,
Yeah.
if I'm going to pay extra money, I want to pay it to Marshall.
Yeah.
So that's all.
Part of our goal here is to educate, and put out things. Again, what are we talking about? Everything herd fans need to know.
Mm-hmm.
This is something they needed to know. So we've talked about this. It's like, here's your cheapest way to go to this game. Here's your best avenue, and you need to go get them early because there's a chance it could sell out. I know people are getting caught up on that. Well, why not just hold those and let herd fans get them? You're not guaranteed that that's going to happen. Virginia Tech fans could have come in here and
It's
bought
true.
all of them at that much cheaper price, and
Yep.
it's going to be the exact same thing going on right now that you're looking at. They gave them every opportunity before it went on sale to the general public. They said, "Hey, you got to be a Big Green member, but if you're not a Big Green member, say I want Virginia Tech seats, and I'd like to become a member of the Big Green. Please take $5 a month out of my debit card for 1 year."
Mm-hmm.
And then we all know, we talk about how much you can get back on that $5 you're getting. You can make money off of
Yeah. So I've clicked the include fees button, right? So
it.
now
Mm-hmm.
that makes those cheapest tickets $64 a piece,
Wow.
including fees.
33% of fees
See, and
going
at
from
most
43.
you're going to pay a flat fee at Marshall for like an online order. What's it, like $5?
It's $5, but you don't even have to pay that if you go do it in person or whatever. I
Right.
think it's an over the phone type convenience fee because they have to charge your card and pay. a credit card fee or so. I can't remember
Sure,
exactly
sure.
what it is, but that's pretty standard everywhere, and it is much lower than like Ticketmaster or
Oh yeah,
SeatGeek or
for sure.
any of that. We're just looking here right here, jumping from 43 to 64. It is right at 33% of
Yep.
your So
And I don't know what the face value of those tickets are. I haven't looked at them. You know what they were printed at Marshall, but they weren't $64.
yeah.
You know,
30
so
33% of your total cost coming from fees is ridiculous. I mean,
yep.
it's a 50%, 41, and then you're tacking on another 20 or 43, and you're tacking on 21 on top of that. It's damn near 50% of what you were going to pay is going on to. It's just crazy, man.
I know it's a bummer.
We
So now moving forward,
Yeah.
just take care of it when you can, as soon as you can. You won't ever have to run into this.
Yeah. Well, KD, that's all six of the six things every Herd fan needs to know this week. As always, brought to you by Ignite Link. So now we're going to take it around the herd, or you want to do the Albany preview? What do you want to do?
Your call.
Let's go Albany preview, break it up a little bit,
Okay.
and then we'll go right into the around the herd after that.
All right. Well, it's freaking game week. It is freaking game week. And that means, yes, there's a game at home, but also there's a big ass, sweet ass tailgate at home this
A little
week,
bit,
too.
a little bit.
And we have been sending out personal invites and just telling whoever wants to listen to, hey, stop by, get some food, say what's up, talk the herd. You know, we're gonna have a great time. I don't care if it's pouring down the rain. I'm having a great time. Hurricane Idalia is closing down on me right now. It's supposed to hit my area this evening in the next 8 to 12 hours. And I don't care. I mean, come hell or high water, my ass is going to be in Huntington, West Virginia on Saturday. I don't care if I have to swim there. We're going to make it to this tailgate and to the game. So, Albany Great Danes are coming to town, Russ. Game Saturday, September 2nd, 6 p.m. Eastern at the Joan. If you cannot make it, the game will be live streamed on ESPN Plus. So there is no chance you can't miss the herd, right? That you can watch it on TV or you can come to the game. I hope that every last person that interacts with us on social media and some that don't are at the game. I would love to see a big Kelly Green C in the stands at the Joan to unveil that new sweet ass video board along with the other changes at the Joan. Russ, this is the first ever matchup between Albany and Marshall, so there is absolutely no history to go off of here. The Power Index absolutely loves the herd at home this week. 92.1% chance to win. Gotta be honest, can't believe it ain't a little higher, but it is what it is. There is no betting line on this game that I could find. There may be one out there, but I could not find one. Albany is already 1-0 on the season, so they're going to come in having those first game jitters have shaken off already. They got a 34-13 win over Fordham last week, and they're a little bit more pass heavy than they are run game in from their offensive style through one game. 253 passing yards to 140 rush yards in that game, so take that for what it's worth. Marshall's defense, I looked at the Albany schedule. Marshall's defense is easily the toughest defense that they will face all year long. So do not be surprised if they can't do a damn thing against this herd defense. But nonetheless, Russ, give me your bird's eye view on this game before we get into players to look out for.
Well, so since they went 9-5 in 2019, they have won 7 games total in a shortened 20, and then 21, 22, and one game into 23. With, of course, what you just said, one of those 7 wins came last week against Fordham. Also, a little bit of note, wide receiver Caden Bertie transferred from here and is going to be playing on the other side of the line. He's over there at Albany. They've got some stuff I want to talk more when we're doing a little more position or offense defense breakdowns. Okay. But bird's eye view, it's just like we talked last year in the first game. There's not a snowball's chance, man. I mean, I know that there's like 7.1% or whatever, but if they're really saying, it's much lower than that. Anything could happen. You never want to come in here. Anybody remember New Hampshire? I know I do. We talked about it briefly last week, but it doesn't matter on paper. It doesn't matter on anything. Marshall is a superior team, and these types of games are kind of no doubt that's the way it is.
Yeah.
Uh,
let me
Go
give
ahead.
you a stat point that just keeps bugging me, right?
Okay.
Because I keep hearing I would tend to think that some of this 7.9% for Albany is that I keep hearing over and over Marshall's defense only returns 3 starters. And we know that's not true. We know it's not true because Tyquez Legs started games last year. They're talking about Abraham, Neal, and Porter. That's the three
Right.
people they're talking about.
Which,
And
by the
we
way,
and we
I mean that right
know
there.
but we
That right
know
there.
there are more guys that started games for Marshall last year. We know
Yeah.
that. Gibby started games,
Yeah.
Legs started games,
Yeah.
Burton started games. I mean, I don't know where this number came from. I don't get that. So that might be some of that in there, but dude, I'm here to tell you, it ain't gonna freaking matter.
It's not going to matter. I mean, you can out depth, you can out athlete, you can do whatever you want in games like this. They are what they are, right? Just about everybody has a game like this on their schedule
Mm-hmm.
nowadays. But in these games, they're kind of like a let's make sure that we've got everybody, up to game speed. Let's make sure that we got everybody on the same page. We're not going to expose our game plan because we don't have to.
Yeah.
But these games, even if it stays close through halftime, the bigger, faster, stronger players always take over with the conditioning and all that. The depth is a major issue in these games because you've got some stud athletes that are going to play in these games on the opposition. And we can talk about a couple of them on here. And they're going to have great years. And I think that there's some of them that could probably transfer and go play for uh, some really good teams, better than the level that Albany's at.
Mm-hmm.
But the depth is what separates this. You cannot put in your eighth best defensive lineman at Albany and have them be anywhere near our top eight, top
Eighth
12.
best defensive lineman.
Well, maybe even top 12.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't, it's such a drop off on teams like this. The depth is what gets them. And late in the games, I mean, you're talking about uh, running Rasheen Ali, and then you say, well, he's done. We've done enough. Let's take him out. And you're putting a fresh Toby Payne or AJ Turner or something like, or I said Toby, I mean Ethan, but
Mm-hmm.
putting anybody in there, and you're just going to run them down because
Yeah.
you've got fresh legs. You've got the depth to be able to do that. So this game is a no doubter. We'll talk about a score prediction. We'll talk about further breakdown, but from a bird's eye view, it's just no doubt, man. This is a game that you win.
I would think that from a bird's eye view, from an Albany standpoint, if I'm an Albany fan, I'm looking at this one and going, I just want to get out healthy. You know
Yep.
what I mean? It's that kind of game for them. We want to go have a respectable showing and just
Yep.
get out healthy.
Yep.
That's what it feels like for me. And look, I went back just now as you were talking, and I was like, I wonder if the power index for Norfolk State in the opener last year is still up. And it's not. It's replaced by time of possession in that game.
Yeah.
But remember, it was probably similar to this power index this year.
I
And we
don't think
went,
it was.
well,
I
I
think it
mean,
was much lower.
oh well, okay, but we went 55-3 in that game. We played six freaking quarterbacks in that game. You know what I mean? Like Ali didn't even play, and
Right.
we had two running backs go over 100 yards in that game. It
Yeah.
feels very much the same kind of thing. It's like this could be the AJ Turner breakout game, or the
Yeah.
Ethan Payne break. He did 100. He had 100 yards last
Yeah.
opener. So I don't know, man. I look at this and I think, okay, you don't give anything away because you don't want to put anything on film for East Carolina. We
Right.
talked about that in the season preview.
Yep.
It's just like take care of your business, put a
Hmm.
decent showing out there for the fans, you know, cruise to victory, get some youngsters some game time speed and see what you can do. Maybe you give up some garbage time yards, maybe you give up a garbage time score. Who gives a shit? Who cares? This game's about going 1-0. And if you're worried about how pretty you looked in a game like this, you're not seeing big picture, right? Because you're more concerned with East Carolina, you're more concerned with Virginia Tech, you're more concerned with NC State and the SBC slate than you are Albany. You want to win it, but you don't want to put anything on film for the rest of the season because
That's
it ain't
right.
gonna get no easier than Albany. It's only harder from here on out, right? So let's talk
We
about some of these players if you don't have anything else.
Final thing I was going to say is I'll probably talk about this a lot more on our pregame tailgate show. Little
Okay.
plug for that. But one of the things that I watch for in games such as this, because you've got the better talent, you got the better depth, and you should win the game walking away,
Mm-hmm.
is minimize your turnovers, minimize your mistakes, your holding penalties, your offsides, things like that, late hits. show that you're disciplined in these games where, just like you would in practice, where you should be winning this game, walking away no contest. Show that you can curtail all those mistakes that you would make, because when it matters, you don't want to do those.
Yeah, for sure. And I've added a little bit of a wrinkle to our game previews this year. I've touched on a couple more of those. Um, I don't want to call them under the radar stats, but usually it's offensive players, defensive players. We'll talk about special teams, and then that's kind of it. But I got a few more at the end of all that we're going to touch on this year for this season in previews, just to give the fans a little bit more knowledge going into the games. But look, let's start with this Great Dane offense, okay? And usually you have to neutralize a quarterback to have a pretty good opportunity to win a game. That kind of goes without saying. But in this case in particular, if you can do that against this team, they're not going to really do much. So let's talk about the quarterback, number 7, Reese Poffenbarger, the 6', 210-pound sophomore. All right, he went 23 of 40 last game, 253 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he was not sacked. Also was the second leading rusher for the Great Danes in that game last week. 8 carries for 47 yards, including a 20-yard scamper. So that tells me this guy is a big part of what they need to do offensively, right? Leading rusher for the Great Danes last week was number 23 running back Nate Larkins, 6', 220. He's a senior. Check this. He's from Huntington, New York. So pretty cool tie in there. 12 carries last week for 69 yards. Nice. 5.8 yards per carry, and he caught 1 ball out of the backfield for another 9 yards. Trio of wide receivers that we have to touch on because it's kind of a mixed bag. You've got your chain movers, you've got your deep threats, but several of these guys found the end zone, right? Number 2, wide receiver Roy Alexander, 5'10", 191-pound junior, led the team last week 6 receptions, also led the team in yards with 58, and led the team in receiving touchdowns with 2, 9.7 yards per catch. Very much that chain mover type guy that happened to find the end zone, probably in the red zone. Number 4, wide receiver Marquise Dietz, 5'10", 187-pound sophomore, just behind Mr. Alexander, 5 catches last week, 46 yards for 9.2 yards per catch. And then you get into a little bit more of a slightly downfield threat. Number 13, wide receiver Brevin Easton, 5'11", 192-pound senior, just 2 catches for 31 yards, but he did find the end zone once, good for 15.5 yards per carry. Here's where it gets a little interesting. Albany had 11 different receivers catch at least 1 ball last week. So it's wide receivers, tight ends, and running backs. So they spread it around a little bit. They had 4 guys that averaged over 10 yards of reception, and 2 of those guys averaged over 20 yards of reception, including 1 guy who had 25 yards per reception. And you mentioned former Herd wide receiver Caden Bird. He transferred there in the offseason. He did have a catch last week for 7 yards. Russ, let's talk about this offense, what you think about this Great Danes offense before we move into the defense.
Well, we covered Poffenbarger pretty good there. It's a good pocket presence. It looks like decent completion rate of, I don't know what that translated, 23, it's around 55, 56.
Yeah, I think it was like 59 and some change, but it's between 55 and 60.
Yeah, so mobile, he took it on the ground 8 times for 47 yards, and you mentioned that 21 yard run. But they averaged as a team 4.9 rushing yards per carry. And they had 2 that were well above that, Poffenbarger being one, and at 5.9 yards per carry. And then Nate Larkins on 12 carries, 5.8. So
right.
Pretty formidable. You talk about containing Poffenbarger as quarterback, but they had a good running game too. If you're up around 5 yards a carry, that's really, really good. But they have not played anywhere near what they're going to play on Saturday.
Yeah.
Fordham is just not going to be Marshall. Fordham's probably not going to be Hawaii, who they go to play next after they play us.
Right.
And that's just the way it is. So these stats are respectable, and we have to respect this. And I look for them to, not just put up goose eggs just because we're Marshall and we're a level above them. We have to do what we have to do. And we're going to have to watch this guy who can spread it around in the pocket, put it on the ground when he needs to, tuck it, and pick up nearly 6 yards of carry. We have our work cut out for us as a defense. I think we're up to the task, but we have to respect them.
Well, you do, and you mentioned it, right? Owen Porter's not lining up for Fordham.
No,
Eli Neal's not lining up for Fordham. Micah
no.
Abraham's not on that roster. So these guys are there's we've talked about it in the breakdowns. Where the hell is the weak link on this defense? Who do you try to attack, right? And specifically if you're Albany, who are you going to try to pick on, right?
Yeah.
Because I like the speed and the strength of our defensive line to really make it a long, hard day for that Albany offensive line. Right? They didn't give up a sack last week. Great. They also didn't play Marshall last week.
That's
So
right.
you got to give them a little bit of respect for the numbers they were able to put up. But
Hmm.
I mean, who's Fordham? I know who Fordham is, but and I don't mean that disrespectfully, but I don't. There's nobody I would believe on that roster that is going to
It's
be as impactful, much less be as impactful with 10 other super impactful players. To afford Albany to do anything of major consequence against Marshall.
Yeah, it's no comparison. And the athletes and the speed, the team size, our
Yeah.
team size across the line. Uh, I don't think they're going to come out of this unscathed. They were not lining up against the likes of Porter and Gibby and Legs, and just the sheer size that we can put there. McCracken going in there. All the different behemoths that we have, and the strength that we have across that defensive line. So in games like this, it's almost like you want to hope, instead of picking on, you want to hope that these defensive backs are looking to make a spectacular play, jump the route, take one to the house, that sort of thing. So you might expect maybe they would throw in some play action or pump fakes to try to burn somebody long as their way to get over that. Do they have the time because of the defensive line that we're going to be taking after them and the linebackers that are coming after them?
It
I
doesn't
don't
seem like
know. I
it.
don't know, but I don't think so.
Yeah, it does not seem like it, right? And we talked about a trio of wide receivers 5'10, 5'10, and 5'11. When we were doing our breakdowns, yeah, there were probably
Five
some.
ten was the shortest back that we had.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So you're already behind the eight ball from a measurable standpoint, and that's not even taking into account the potential disparity of athleticism, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have. I'm looking at their roster right now. They have a handful of guys that go, 6'2", 6'2". They got nobody listed over 6'2". There are a few wide receivers that are missing their heights and weights, but they've got a couple of pretty sizable tight ends. But hey, so do we. uh, I think we know what we have here. Let's talk about their defense. Trio of guys we're going to talk about because it's pretty impressive. They put up some
It
pretty impressive
was.
stats. Number 42, let's start with that linebacker, Dylan Kelly, 6'1", 214-pound senior. Led the team in tackles last week with 12, 9 of those solo. Also led the team, 2 tackles for loss and 2 sacks. Then a couple of defensive linemen that really just made it terrible for Fordham. Number 4 defensive lineman, Anton Junkaj, I'm going to say Junkaj, 6'3", 273-pound senior, 6 tackles, 5 solo, 4 tackles for loss, led the team last week, 3 sacks, tied for the team lead, a forced fumble, and a quarterback hurry. And in rounding it out, his defensive line teammate, number 8, A.J. Simon, 6'1", 264-pound senior, 4 tackles, all 4 of those solo, 3 more tackles for loss, and he had 3 sacks. So they had 3 guys that tallied all 8 of their sacks. 2 of those came on the defensive line, where 6 sacks were accounted for. So these guys you're going to have to account for. And no, I'm not going to just shy away and say, well, they didn't play the Marshall offensive line. But they didn't play the Marshall offensive line,
Yes.
So thoughts on this defense?
Yeah, so I had him down. I went through the play-by-play is how I recorded mine, and I had him at 7 sacks. So I don't know if some of those were halves that got, or what I mean, that totaled it up. But anyway, 7 or 8, either way, that's a hell of a good performance going up against an opposing team. Looking at the roster, let's just look at their defensive line. They do have some guys that are big. We've got 6'3", 273. We've got 6'1", 267. 6', 296. But that 296 is by far the heaviest that they have. And after that, it's 280, 281. And then they have several that are in the 220, 217
Whoa.
on the defensive line.
Yeah.
They're tall, but one guy on here is 6'5", 266. You got another guy 6'5", 241, and then you've got 6'3", 242. 6', 230, 6'2", 222. It's just 6'3", 225.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not going to compare to Ethan Driscoll at 6'9", and I can't remember what his weight is, but we average 300, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken, or a little higher. We just have a massive offensive line. We've got what I feel is going to be a stronger offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Can you get around that with technique? Yes. But these guys are drastically undersized, and they were going up against Fordham to get those 7 or 8 sacks. It just seems like another level here on sheer size alone. And again, how many times do I have to bring this up? It's the number one thing Coach Huff said when he came here. We are going to have certain size players at each position.
Mm-hmm.
And it's for
Yeah.
reasons like this.
We don't know what happened in that Fordham game. They
Right.
looked like they really had some strength up the middle of their defense. Dude, maybe a really great offensive lineman for Fordham was injured early, and it was like, well, Katie barred the door because now we can't stop this pass rush. But look, even if you can get around Trent or you can get around Logan, or you still got to contend with a very, very mobile Cam Fancher.
Yeah.
He's not just going to stand there and let you hit him, right? So
Yeah.
it's going to be an entirely different animal for them this week. And I respect these two players, all three of them
Yeah.
particularly, but particularly the two on the defensive line, because we're boasting our defensive line.
Right.
They've got nobody on our team has a sack yet, and much
Right.
less 6, between two guys. Let's talk about the overall impact plays that this defense garnered. We talked about the 8 sacks. They also had that 1 forced fumble and a fumble recovery, along with a myriad of tackles for loss. So, again, they can make plays. Will Marshall give them the opportunity to make those plays this week? Probably sometimes, right? You can't say that we won't shoot ourselves in the foot from time to time, but by and large, it really has a Norfolk State type feel, to this game. One last thing we've got to talk about as far as a player to watch out for is they got a really bright spot at place kicker. Number 37, John Apalco, he went 2 of 2 on field goals last week and 4 of 4 on extra points. Now, granted, his long was 26 yards on a field goal,
Yep.
but he didn't miss any, so if they can get into that probably 30-yard line realm, 25-yard line realm, probably got a puncher's chance at splitting the uprights here. The last thing I want to talk about is these new team stats that I want to mention this week, because they're often talking points that we cover, particularly in recaps. So let's just talk about, I've got 4. Penalties. They had 7 penalties last week for only 60 yards, so that's a pretty decent job of taking care of the football. Time of possession, they were plus 2.5 over the 30-minute mark, so they possessed the ball for more than half the game, 32 minutes, 11 seconds. 9 of 16 on third downs last week, Russ. 56.25% of the time they were converting. And we know that's a stat that Marshall absolutely freaking dominated last year, was third down defense. And then red zone scoring. They went 5 of 5 on red zone scoring opportunities, and 3 of 5 were touchdowns. So if they can get in the red zone, they've got a knack for finding the end zone. How about some keys to victory for you, Russ?
First, let me touch on the kicker there,
Okay.
Apalco that you mentioned. I had that down here that he did get 2 field goals, but the long of that was 26. That tells me a couple of things. More about their offense, that they got down inside the 10 twice that they had to settle for a field goal. Mm-hmm. That is not going to win them a game against Marshall. But also, I looked up his stats from last year, and he was 9 of 16. They didn't have it broken down as I hoped because of the level that they're on. I'm sure they just didn't have that in the stats. But 9 of 16 for field goals. In 2021, he was not their kicker. So this looks like his second full year, and he went 9 of 16 last year. Does that mean that he's not going to be a threat from 40 out? No, it does not. It's kind of an unknown, but the stats here tell me that if it does come down to kicks, one, I still like our chances really well. But it just does not seem like 9 of 16 last year, and he only had 2 attempts here, and they were within 26 yards. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's kicking from your 16.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
we're pretty high on our guy too, right? Verhoff. We've heard that his range has improved, his
yeah,
accuracy has improved,
yep,
and he had an up and down season last year too. So
yep,
if we're being fair, this guy could have turned the page and
could have.
figured out what he needs to figure out. But I'll tell you this: coming in perfect on your kicks, you can't take that away. I don't care where they
Right.
come from,
Sure.
right? So he's got some pretty high confidence coming into this game because he's not missed one yet, and even if he did, it doesn't look like by the score of this game that it would have been detrimental to his team winning. So, just keeping it real, I guess. But how about some keys?
Keys to victory for me is set the tone early.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, you want to get out and you want to not have something where you allow them any type of momentum or any type of celebrating of we've held them to 3 and out or we've held them scoreless through their first two drives. We want to get on the board early and we want to keep the foot on the gas, keep the foot on the throat.
Mm-hmm.
Just go for it. These games are not meant to be, hey, thanks for coming. We'd like to only beat you by 7. We want to take it easy on you. No, just get out there, let the athletes play, let the athletes score. We want to score early on them and set the tone.
Yep. I would tend to agree with that. My number one overall key to victory is simply stated: unleash the defense.
There you go.
I mentioned before, this is the best defense they'll play all year long. So there is no reason to just not let these guys play wide open, set the tone early, like you said, rotate in all these guys that we're really excited about. There's no reason to keep, Owen in late in the fourth quarter. You might as well get these young guys this game experience that they're going to need late in a season. So if you unleash this defense and just let our 11 go up against their 11, I like our chances far more than not. But that to me is the single biggest thing. I think Albany might be fortunate to acquire 3 or 4 first downs. You know what I mean? Like it might be that type of game. I'm not saying it will happen, but I'm saying like I could easily see how it could be so stifling that third down conversion goes from 9 of 16 to like 1 of 15. You know, it's just our game. That's our wheelhouse. That's what we do. So let them do it.
Yeah. And I think a second key to victory for me would be that our passing game gets established early. If for nothing else, then confidence of not only our quarterback, but our fans to
Mm-hmm.
see, hey, we can do this. This is a guy. Let's get behind there. So I'm really hoping that we establish that passing game, even though it's an inferior opponent. You can say, well, he put up 350 yards and 7 touchdowns or whatever, but it was only against Albany. I don't care. We need to see that established.
Yeah, I don't care if he puts up 300 yards. I just want to be able
Yeah,
to consistently hit passes,
that's right.
right? Consistently move the football.
Yep.
Just hush the doubters and quiet. This is the only first opportunity you're going to have this season to do that,
Yep.
And you don't have to go out and throw for 500 yards. You really
Nope.
don't. But you just need to be efficient as a quarterback. But my actual number 2 key to victory is to utilize Fancher's true dual threat ability to
Mm-hmm.
game plan away from those defensive linemen that had a great day last week. So why give him an opportunity to get anywhere near your quarterback? We just know Cam is super athletic, and if you give him the sliver of a hole, he can burn you. But he can also just roll out and hit Ali out of the backfield. He can
Yep.
do a little stop route to Chuck Montgomery. I mean, there's a lot we can do to just go a lot of the game, if not all of the game, without a defender even getting their hands on Cam's jersey. It is possible with the true dual threat ability that he possesses. And to me, that's just a huge key to victory. Might as well keep that clock in his head slower, so that you can make those better reads, you can make those crisper passes. It's very much a tuning up game for me. That's it.
My third and final is exactly what I said last year. In a game like this, it takes almost catastrophic swings in momentum from pick sixes, block punts for touchdowns, situation where you're going for a field goal and you miss it, and then they throw a bomb on the very next play. You have to limit or just outright do away with that, not have any kind of situation where you're giving them any kind of chance to have a 14-point swing.
Yeah.
I still don't think. I think it would take multiple. I mean, we're talking about a Bowling Green type game last year where you had two unthinkable things that would happen, like fumbles inside the 5 yard line. But against this team, it would almost have to be that would be a scoop and a score, that you would be going down to drive for a touchdown and they take it the other way on a fumble. If you limit those, obviously, I think this game we win going away either way. But if you limit those, I feel like there is no chance for Albany.
Yeah, I would have to say my number three. It's not really a key to victory as much as it's like I think it's just good practice, and that's you want to get Rasheen Ali involved early. You want to get his mojo going, and then you want to get him out of the damn game.
Yeah,
You know, let him run and get his 100 yards real quick. If that happens in the first quarter, take the pads off, homie, because there's no reason to be back out there. You might as well let AJ Turner. You might as well let Smoke Jones and Ethan Payne and all these guys get some rep because why risk it, right? Why risk the biscuit against Albany? If Ali comes out and breaks three big runs real quick and, gets three touchdowns and he's 120 yards and, through a quarter and a half, that's it. That's it, dude. Don't need to see any more. We know what we got. And since you don't have a fourth, I'm just going to go right into my last one. And I think Marshall's real key to victory is to spread the ball around to all of our wide receivers, tight ends, and running backs in the passing game. Just simply out athlete Albany, just like we mentioned earlier. We have the ability to do that, so we might as well do it. Why put too much stuff on film for a big package of plays to Chuck Montgomery or a big package of plays to Talik Keaton? Why expose anything when you can just have East Carolina wondering, okay, well, they just passed the ball effectively to 12 different guys, including 5 tight ends. Like, who the hell do we game plan for, right? So being able to I want to call that misdirection. It's not really, but you're being effective in this game while also causing some misdirection for your preparation for week 2 again for your opponent. I mean, if when you're afforded those opportunities, take them, freaking take them. And there's one that's here, so we should take it. That's
yep.
it. Any final words on anything I just said before we move into an MVP?
Yeah, just want to touch on a couple of things. I know you mentioned Roy Alexander, but he is a threat that we have to watch. And also, they held Fordham to 37 rushing yards on 31 carries. But you have to figure in,
8 sacks.
Yeah, the negative 51 yards was on there. Negative 44 of that was on the sacks. Negative 44 was the rushing from the quarterback.
Yeah.
So he had some yards and then he lost 51 of them to sacks. So you add that, but still 31 rushing attempts, and they would have only given up, let's see, take away the 8 sacks. That would have been 23 rushing attempts, and they would have got 81 yards. It's not as bad then if you look at it.
Yeah, but they're not playing against the top 10 draft eligible running back this year.
They're
a
not.
Guy who's on the comeback player of the year watch list. A guy that could be offensive player of the year in the Sun Belt. I mean, it's a lot, man. It's a lot for these guys. I don't envy Albany. I hope their fans come and enjoy like being in Huntington, and you can look past what a lopsided score this might be. Yep. Because, hey, you can come over and tailgate with us on the ThunderCast.
That's
if you're
right.
finding the show and you're listening to our preview and you're thinking, these guys are assholes. All they're doing is dogging our squad. Well, we're really high on our squad. They're going to be really, really good. And it's really not that we're dogging your team as much as we are very, very high on our own guys.
Yeah.
So we don't mean it in any type of way necessarily, but we'll have a big tailgate. You guys are welcome to come over. We will welcome you in. It is a friendly landing spot. And along with that, let's transition into what you just posted on the website real quick before we go into MVPs.
The MVPs, sure. So I've been working on it for a while, this off season or whatever, but just published it. I mean, it's up. I didn't have to put it out like it's an article, but if you go to thundercast.online and you go to the tab for out of towners, you're going to see our visitor's guide, and it's going to have places to stay, places to eat, things to do while you're in town. If you're here and you're like, well, I'm going to be here for the entire weekend, what else is there I can do? I've got stuff like that on there. And we got stuff about parking, and we got stuff about tailgating. So when you go to the parking over there, you'll see different options, some that are with Marshall for single game parking. The closest one is just called the 6th Avenue lot. It's between 17th and 18th Street. I I know that it has $10 on there, and if I had to guess, I would say easily 100 spots. So park there, and you're not too far away. You can go to Huntington Physical Therapy. I think that theirs is going to be around $20 a spot, and that is like nearly touching the parking lot for
Hmm.
tailgating right around the stadium. You can park across the street at places like Subway and Chipotle and Arby's. There's a bunch of different places over there. They're first come, first serve. So you've got all those options there. And tailgating, we have our spot listed. We're in the C lot right beside McDonald's, right behind the massive scoreboard that you won't be able to miss. There are other uh, fan friendly, both of Marshall fans that don't have a tailgating spot, but also opposing fans.
Hmm.
If you want to go tailgate, we've got those highlighted on there as well.
Yeah.
This will be ever evolving. People may each week say, "Hey, I'm just now coming across this. Please add my tailgate. I'll get the info. I'll put it on there." And as we go along, we'll have updated photos of not only these tailgate locations with what it will look like when it's set up, but we just want to have everybody's photos on there.
Yeah. Well,
So,
and plus we wanted to make it really easy for out of town fans that just want to go catch a game. They're like, man, I don't have a place to tailgate. Well, you do now. You've got
yeah,
several options, in fact, already on the
yep,
website. Out of town fans, same thing. We don't want nothing from you. If you feel like you want to walk the sheets real quick and grab a 12 pack and just contribute, that's fine.
sure.
But I'm just saying, like, generally we'll have. It's a nice place to just come and hang out with fan friendly folks. That's what it is, and
Yeah,
mostly it's family friendly too. So you
yeah,
don't have to worry about bringing your kids or is this going to be age appropriate. I mean, what's the worst you're going to hear at a game? Cuss words, right?
yeah,
Mostly, and you got to expect that no matter where you're tailgating. It's just going to
yeah.
happen. So by all means, go to thundercast.online. The links is in the description of this episode. You can hit the Out of Towners tab and you can get all the details on how to park, where to buy tickets, how to buy tickets, and where to tailgate and stuff to do around town. It's a really great idea.
Yeah, each tailgate that we have listed there, one still needs to get the info to me, so it's kind of incomplete. But the three that we have fully fleshed out, including ours, even tells you if there's anything that you need to bring.
Yeah.
For instance, I'm going to say the potty train tailgate. They said bring whatever you want. You don't have to bring anything, but if you do bring something and it needs to stay hot, or if you do bring something and it needs to stay cold, or if you do need something, bring something that needs to be prepared in a certain way, just please bring that with you because they might not have every single thing. They might not have a blender that week. They
Yeah.
might not have. So if you have a specific item that you want to bring, totally fine with them, but they just ask that you bring the thing. All of that is in our guide.
Yep. No yellow pants though. No yellow pants.
No yellow
They
pants.
specified that. Russ, let's talk about MVP this week. Who's your guy?
I got to go with Rasheen Ali. I think he's going to make a statement. I feel like he might not have more than 10 carries, depending on how this score gets out of control, as I expect it to be. But
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he's going to find the end zone twice. I just feel like he's going to turn a corner and go right around somebody and show everybody, hey, my wheels are okay. I'm back. Here's what you can expect this year.
That is a great pick, and it came down to Rasheen Ali and who I actually chose this week as my potential MVP. But based on a conversation that I had with this guy, I can't pick anybody but Owen Porter. Looking at this potential offensive line matchup and those guys not being able to just load up and stop him because you leave three-fourths of the defensive line necessarily unaccounted for, Owen's got the single season sack record in his sights, and you heard him talk about it. He doesn't think about the sacks he did get last year. He
Yeah.
thinks about the ones that evaded him that he should have had,
Which
and
he
he
said
worked
was at least 12.
right. He said really, I think it's 15, but
Yeah.
12, on the low side. I think this is it, man. It's got a chunk of them have to come in this game, right? Because it's not going to get any easier for Marshall. So if he can come out and have 2 or 3 sacks, heaven's sakes, 4 sacks, you know, that record really starts to get in range after 1 week. And we saw what he did last year in the opener. He ended up with a scoop and score last year and had a really great game. And his season was just springboarded into this great 2022 campaign. So I love Rasheen Ali. I really think he's going to run wild too. But just solely based on the conversation that I had with Owen Porter, I think it's him this week, man. I really do. I really think it's going to be him, and I think we're looking at a potential Week One Sun Belt Conference Defensive Player of the Week effort because it's internal motivation for Owen. It's just like I'm doing this. I'm doing this. So, how about a score prediction, man? What do you got?
Well, I say that we go over 60 in this.
Oh,
And
jeez.
yeah, I do. And I'm going to say 66. And I'm going to say that they get on the board one time, 66 to 7.
Whew, man, you are
Yeah,
feeling the herd this week.
I'm feeling the herd.
Let me tell you what I don't like about that prediction is because that's going to cause you, unless you just break big play after big play, you're going to have to put some things on film, right? You're going to have to. I would love to see 66 hit the board, but I feel like in order to get that, you're going to have to run basic plays that just go the distance. You're going to have 15 chunk plays that the majority of those lead to a score. I'm a little bit more tense, right? Or a little bit more not gun shy, but like, give me 34 to 10 for the herd because I think not Fordham, but Albany's going to pick up a garbage time touchdown when the game's well in hand. It's just one of those things. They'll get some fluky turnover. I'll put them in decent field position to where they can pick up an additional 12 yards and then be in field goal range. And, it's just one of those type of things. Marshall cruises to a victory. A lot of the doubters are hushed on Cam Fancher, and we don't put anything on film for ECU. That's what I feel about it.
I still don't feel like we're going to put anything on film. And a lot of my stuff is gut. And I was on the head several times last year, and I was wildly wrong several times last year.
Yeah.
So it's hard to tell where this one will break down, but give me 66 to 7.
Whew. I'll take it too. I would love to see that. That'd be a huge treat.
How about our standard bet? $1?
$1, yes. Trading
All right.
places. The trading places bet. Final thoughts on Albany before we move into Around the Herd?
No, just I wish both sides and fan bases that everyone comes out of this game with no injuries or at least no catastrophic injuries.
Yep.
And any Albany fan making the trip, that's a hell of a trip down. So I really want to welcome them, and I feel like everybody at Marshall will live up to their hospitality name to welcome those fans coming from so far away to watch their team. So.
Yep.
Best of luck to everybody.
Let me say one thing. If you are a Herd fan and you listen to our show and you have happened to start interacting with Albany fans this week, be sure to tell them, hey, you guys need to go follow the ThunderCast, link the episode on YouTube or Spotify or whatever, because they need to know this info. They need to know where to tailgate. They need to know this stuff. So help us help visiting fans want to come back to Huntington. Help us help visiting fans contribute to our local economy. Like, make it a positive experience and all that kind of stuff. Russ, let's take this daggone thing around the herd.
Yeah, so let's start out with women's soccer. Man, I can't believe it. I was wrong.
They gave up a goal.
Yeah. They had a draw against Indiana State, 1-1, which that had totally slipped my mind that ended up being a draw. Abby Hugh got that one goal and got it later on in the contest in the second half. But the heat index reached 112 degrees.
Yep. I saw
Both teams, just covered in sweat, exhausted and everything. What a performance by the Herd. What a performance by Alexis at goalie. They are hosting Ohio on Thursday at 6 p.m. We will have tickets to give away for that. Let's all get out and support our Herd ladies.
Yeah, I would say that I even saw that they pushed the start of the game back.
Yeah, it was like 2 hours.
And they even had designated hydration breaks that normally are not part of a soccer match in order to, for player safety. And they needed it. Damn.
Yeah.
So, but hey, end of the day, Herd women's soccer is still rocking and rolling. And you're right. We will have tickets. Get out to the vet, man, and support these girls. It's fun. They're winning. It's different. It's like something to be excited about. So get your tail to the vet, man.
Over on the men's side of the pitch, they crushed Oakland 4-0 on Thursday, backed by the hat trick by Matthew Bell, as we mentioned. 2 of the goals were assisted by Alvaro Garcia Pascual and one by Adam Amash. They absolutely mollywopped Wright State 5-0 on Monday. with Marco Silva getting a hat trick before the first half was over. Like
Yeah.
early in the first half, he
Yeah.
got that. And I got a neat little thing about that. So we gave away 7 tickets to that game, our usual two, and then two other Great Herd fans gave 3 and 2 respectively, since they weren't going to be there, and we were able to put some butts in those seats. And I was telling one of those individuals that went, because it was their first soccer game that they had gone to at a college level. They were able to take the entire family, 3 of them that went. And he said, I'm just not as familiar with the rules and everything. And I said, well, let me tell you what you witnessed. It's rare to see a hat trick.
Mm-hmm.
It is even more rare to see one in back-to-back games be the only two on the season. But as I understand it, Mr. Silva there had his first ever goal in the first half, and then he went on to have a hat trick in the
Yeah.
first half.
Yeah.
That was some extremely rare air that everyone witnessed there on Monday. Also, Matthew Bell picked up his fourth goal, as we talked earlier, and Garcia Pascual finally scored. And I say finally because he has been attacking the goal like a madman, and he got that one, and you could see, he got that
Yeah.
one, got the monkey off his back. Now he's just ready to go off. Next up is this Friday at 7:15. We welcome Xavier. Also, we'll have tickets to that, and should be a really good matchup.
Yeah, man, this soccer team is just freaking dominating.
They're just
I say all the time, I don't know anything about soccer, but I know what I'm seeing. You know what I mean? Like,
you know a mollywop when you see one.
yeah, I don't need somebody to tell me that a 5-0 match is, an ass whooping.
And it's the way that those 5 went down too. I mean, it was just like early on. It was just, I think that there was a shot on goal in the first minute and 15 seconds, and then right after that, we scored. Within the first 7 minutes or something, and then you're looking at a hat trick in the first to put you up 4-0
Yeah,
in the first half. Uh, one thing that I do want to note too is we rotated goaltender or goalkeepers. It was who are we going to have in, who are we going to have in, and Parada was in there for the start and has just been an absolute wall. Even though he didn't have much to defend in this game, but we put the others in there that we expected to have some playing time as well. And everybody has done great, as you can imagine, not giving up a goal so far in the season.
crazy. This team is just so special, man. It's so special. What's next?
All right, so we've got volleyball. They lost 3-0 versus the Citadel, but they came back that same day and swept Bethune and Cookman, and then the very next day swept them again. So that puts them at 2-1 on the year. Lydia Montague, and Jasmine Parrish were both named to the All Tournament team.
Yeah.
This was at the Bash at the Beach, just north of Daytona, was it?
Yeah, but Bethune Cookman's in Daytona, but I don't know if that tournament
Gotcha.
was played on campus or whatever.
The Marshall Invitational begins on Thursday, and they'll be there Thursday, Friday, and Saturday playing. But they kick off 6:30 p.m. on Thursday. So if you're not going to be down watching soccer, you better be over watching volleyball.
Yeah, great opportunity to get out there in a loud environment in the cam. Blow off a little steam, cut loose
We
a little bit.
we will have tickets to that as well. We went
Yeah,
all in, so we will have tickets for you for that. We're just giving tickets away like crazy, and
yeah, we need a van that just says free tickets on it.
and free tickets. Inquire within.
Yeah. Oh my
Uh,
god.
Baseball, we picked up a commitment. Catcher slash first baseman Jackson Golden of the 2024 class committed. And he
Nice.
just put that on social media yesterday. And over at softball, keeping it with the Diamonds, the light poles have begun being set. I think they
Yeah,
might actually even be done with the poles right now, or at least the bases of them. So we're going to have our first dot under the lights very soon.
I know, man. How cool is that? And not it's not just the lights; it's video boards.
Video boards.
They needed a little bit of an upgrade over there, man. So they got it. I don't know, this era, this Morgan Zirkle era is getting a lot of shiny new things to give her more tools to, really just succeed in year one. And you look back at that recruiting class and the portal moves and all that kind of stuff. It's you start to feel okay. You start to feel okay. I'm looking forward to at some point now that the athletes unlimited season is over. Our coaching staff will be in Huntington. They can really commit to the program now, and you're going to see a lot of team building. School's back in session. The girls are on campus. It's going to be kicking into high gear, and I'm really looking to forward to an opportunity to get Morgan on the show and get her and expectations on this transition year for herd softball. But lights are great, man. I like the idea of night games. I mean, baseball. I say baseball, but baseball under the lights is always cool, and I bet Dot Hicks Field can be equally electric under the lights in the right circumstances. I think this is pretty cool, man. I'm looking forward to both the Jack getting done and the Dot getting nestled into that whole complex and just how it all looks when it's done. It's an exciting time, man. It really is. It's just an exciting time.
Well, so with the lights, there was at least one game that I went to that they had to call it because of darkness and
Mm-hmm.
everything. And there's also been times that the games are in the early afternoon during work, and I'm working and couldn't be there. So just the opportunity to go in the evening times and not have to worry about, hey, let's try to get this game in because it's going to rain, and then it's also going to get dark around this time. Uh, you don't have to worry about that when you've invested in your program. And this is one of those things. We're going to have a nice new video board and scoreboard, and we're going to have nice lights.
Yep.
Men's cross country picked third in the preseason Sunbelt Conference coaches poll. And to outdo them, women's cross country was picked second.
Yep. Lots of love there because Abby the Great's back for another year. She jokingly said, "Last season, I swear," and we're just like, "Hey, just keep on coming back, right?"
Yeah.
Because we love talking. Still, we've been talking about this athlete of ours for probably more than anybody else. Like the
Yeah.
number of mentions in individual episodes, she probably leads the league in individual mentions and individual episodes. And yet we've still never met her in person.
Yeah,
So,
she was even a student teacher at my kid's school last year, and I probably saw her over there several times, and just didn't, not seeing her uh,
yeah,
in a
in a
situation where she's at track. You
right,
talked about that before when the fans' first day that you get to go there and see these people that you probably are seeing, but they have a helmet on, and
right.
you see them out. So it's the same difference here. I probably even waved and said hi as I do to different teachers over there, and never
Didn't
never put
know.
two and two together. Yeah,
But it's Abby the Great back, big time Kylie Maston. I like that. I don't know why I call her that, but they're both back to lead this herd, women's cross country squad. And second is pretty nice, man. I shout out to Coach Bowen for getting both sides of the cross country program elevated.
yeah.
I'm really excited about them. Now there's an expectation. Now it's just not, well, we're fielding a team. We'll see where we land. Nope, you've got expectations now, and if you're a fan, that's where you want to be. If you're a coach, if you're an athlete, that's where you want to be. You want to have your feet held to the fire a little bit, and it looks like we're right there now.
And to wrap up around the herd, I've got tennis. Thunder in the Mountains will be 9/22 through 9/24 in Charleston. That is shaping up to be an epic weekend, but we got some conflicting things. Some in Charleston, some down here. But that's when Virginia Tech comes to town, and also have can't remember who it is. Is that when Pitt is playing here? No, I can't remember. There's a big soccer game that weekend. But anyway, Thunder in the Mountains is Marshall versus WVU at the Charleston tennis courts there, and always well attended, and big weekend that everyone looks forward to because it's, let's face it, Marshall versus WVU. There's bragging rights in no matter what you do.
Yeah.
That does it for me for Around the Herd, unless you got something.
I got nothing, man. That's a very all inclusive type thing, and I'm just happy that game week is here. I am
Yeah.
ecstatic that game week is here because I'm going to find myself, unless we get washed away down here over the next 2 days, I'm going to find myself in Huntington, West Virginia on Friday morning to start my weekend, and it's always great to be back in Huntington, man. It really is. And I've been looking forward to seeing the Kentucky Mash Boys again, and I've been
Hmm.
looking forward to seeing you again and all of our other friends there, and just being around Joan C. Edwards Stadium, the electricity that's in the air, all the Kelly Green flying around. It just feels good, man. It's soul cleansing. And for somebody that lives so far away and doesn't get to do that very often, like I can't just pop over to a hoops game or a softball game or anything, right? It means so much to be able to just see that and be there, and take in some of that energy. But the last thing I've got to say before you take us out of here is it's happy birthday to Russ Livingood today. He's now joined me as the same age. I'm 13, 12, was it 13 days older than him, and he only gets a little under 2 weeks to make those jokes, and now we're the same age again. So, a little social media shout out on the Twitter timeline earlier, but can't have an episode without saying a happy birthday to a very near and dear friend of mine, co-host of this podcast. I mean, our lives are intertwined more eerily similar than most two friends probably are,
Yes.
but it's just really cool, man. This friendship has never really gone away in over 25 years, and now look at us,
Yeah.
now look at us.
This week marks 26 years since
Yep.
we met there at joining the same fraternity at
Mm-hmm.
Marshall. And everything has been eerily intertwined since each other's weddings, kids born the same year, married the same year, that sort
Yep.
of thing. So, roommates in college. You mentioned Kentucky Mash Boys, but thank you for the happy birthday. But you mentioned Kentucky Mash Boys, and I have to say that I picked up some custom labels yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and wow, the Kentucky Mash Boys have selected their own barrel of New Riff whiskey, and they are going to do a green wax dip on that for Marshall, and they're going to put this label on there, and it's got our logo, Kentucky Mash Boys logo, and it's going to be a kind of a custom bottle for anybody that's into single barrel rye whiskey and a barrel pick. They're going to have it at the tailgate for sale for anybody that wants that. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, hit up the Kentucky Mash Boys while you're over there. They would be the guys that have those smokers and will be bringing the pulled pork, the whole yard birds, the wings. Even though I may fry up some wings, I think they may smoke them first. And then we're going to have, let's see.
Don't forget the burn ends, man.
Oh yeah, burn ends. Well, I was trying not to tell anybody so I could eat them all. It's like no, we don't got burn ends,
Yeah, we're not doing
but
that this year.
we've got mac and cheese, smoked mac and cheese, and we're going to have some baked beans and slaw. We're going to do it up right. Come hungry, we'll be over there. I don't know. I'd say they said food would be done around 1ish.
Mm-hmm.
So even if it's delayed a little bit by 2, we should have the food out. Don't really know exactly what time we'll be set up with all of our stuff, but we'll be going tailgate live for ThunderCast Live, powered by Ignite Link. We will have that every single home game this year, but we will have that over there at some point around that time as well.
Yeah, and an upgraded setup for ThunderCast Live. So
Yeah.
you folks that tuned in, the out of towners that couldn't make it to a game, and you tuned in on our YouTube channel to watch ThunderCast Live, you're going to see a new look setup this year, a better setup. Jed has taken his game to another level and just continues to overly impressed with what he's able to do for us. And we're working on having a guest during Thundercast Live. Not going to let the cat out of the bag because we just never know how schedules will work out. But that's something that's on the table right now. Somebody that if we're able to nail that down, you folks are going to love to be able to hear from. So if you're around, come to the tailgate. Maybe you'll see that in person.
I'm going to up that and say we're working on
Two,
3 guests,
three. Holy moly, three.
but 2 of them, if it works out, would be in the same segment. So 2 different segments with special guests that you would probably be really wanting to hear from.
Cool,
So
man.
we
Cool.
hope we hope obviously we have to worry about their schedules and when we're
Yeah.
doing stuff. We're hoping that it'll work out, but we hope to bring that to you.
Awesome.
So on that show, we'll be doing a little bit of the breakdown, what we did today, just talking about that. By that time, the 2 deep roster will be out. By that time, any injury reports should be for both teams that you'll be able to hear a little bit of it, that sort of thing. So we hope to have a really good tailgate show, and we hope to see everybody there.
Yeah, hell yeah. Take us out of here, man.
All right. Also, we're going to see Thunderwalk over there at 3:30. So don't forget that. Anybody that's going to be on the west lot, that happens at 2.5 hours before kickoff every time. So 3:30, you should be lined up for the Thunderwalk. And I also want to give a shout out to Coach Huff on congratulations on the birth of another little baby boy. Mrs. Huff gave birth. Everybody's happy, healthy, that sort of thing. And I tell you, those two are rock stars to be able to juggle all that they do, and taking this on right before the season. Our best congratulations that we can give goes out to the Huff family.
That's right, man. Blaze Otto Huff, the newest member of the herd.
Yep. And no matter where you see us, if you see us over at the Joan, if you see us over at the Cam watching volleyball, or if you see us in the C lot with 2 smokers eating burnt ends and everything else, no matter where you see us, we're going to be saying, go herd.
Go herd. It's the ThunderCast. We'll see you guys in just a few days live from the C lot. Later.